Well, hello everybody. We are back with a extended playthrough of Dead Space. Actually, it's going to be a gameplay walkthrough that they're going to show us some extended gameplay. The last video that I had come out with was just a reaction to the initial reveal. So they're going to walk us through probably some more specifics in the game. We might see some things like some extended gameplay as far as how story might progress on. I did see some like tidbits like on Twitter a couple days ago where there'll be a few like interesting changes. So let's go ahead and start this up. I may throw in some extended discussion a little bit afterwards just to kind of maybe discuss things about gameplay in story like specifics and whatnot. So let's check this out and see what kind of gameplay they're going to be throwing at us. Wow, they're starting it off hard. That's okay.
Hi, my name is Philippe Ducharme, senior producer on Dead Space. Today, I'm here to give you a first look at one of my favorite sections in the game. So we find ourselves here in the Ishimura's hangar at the beginning of Chapter 3. We're going to make our way towards the control room in engineering, where we'll attempt to restart the ship's engine. For those of you who remember the original, the hangar was much smaller than it is now. We get to explore this location and literally fly through it before heading to our destination.
Yeah, it's cool to see.
Navigating between chapters without load screens or having a camera cutaway is part of how we've reimagined the Ishimura for the remake. We don't need to rely on the tram as the sole way to get between chapters. It is now a seamless, interconnected ship.
That is something really, really cool. I'm glad they're taking advantage of that.
Entering vacuum.
Having the tram was something, obviously, that we probably needed like back in the day just to get from like one level to another to get things to load up. But just the way that PlayStation 5, the way that...
We've got two lurkers here. You can quickly get rid of them with the pulse rifle or Isaac's trusty plasma cutter. There aren't many traditional firearms on board. To survive, you may have to improvise and choose how to take each necromorph down.
Right on. But what I was saying,
We're now entering the ship. We have a lot to show you, so let's skip ahead to Chapter 3.
Yeah, we'll pause it real quick. So, like, what I was talking about was how, back in the day, the way that the systems would run and graphics and whatnot. Obviously, we needed the tram to be able to just load up like the next sections of the chapters. And once you would take the tram, you were not able to actually go back. So it'll be interesting if once you proceed on to say the next chapter in the next area to discover things and fix things that we need to fix to get the Ishimura back running again. It will be interesting if you can go back and actually re-explore things. So yeah, again, taking control of this day and age technology, being able to kind of integrate like everything in one, to not have to use the tram, not to have to use any kind of like extra loading to go from one chapter to another is very intriguing. Very intriguing.
We've just received a briefing to head over to the refueling station. To get there, we're passing through the machine shop over here. If you needed to backtrack or simply wanted to explore the ship further, you may encounter a completely different experience. Different enemies, the ambience and lighting may change. This is what we call the intensity director. It keeps the Ishimura unpredictable and brings some additional tension and challenge.
It is too dark! How am I going to be able to see? There's the infector.
The way to the refueling station is just a little further ahead. As you can see, some memorable moments are authentic to the original. We've added tons of graphical enhancement that support strategic dismemberment.
All right, so we're
Using kinesis, we'll bring that gondola over and make our way to the south refueling station.
Right, obviously, some of our favorite gameplay mechanics returning. Stasis.
We need to gain access to the fuel management office, which contains the power functions for the refueling station. We can follow that cable to find our way there. One of the things we tried to achieve was to add more context to the various objectives, to expand on what was there, and bring a bit more detail and depth where we could.
Yeah, things like stasis returning right here, being able to slow the necromorphs down, take them out piece by piece before they even hit the floor. And then, like kinesis, being able to bring objects from far distances closer to
The refueling
you.
station has no power. We can look for a way to access the fuel management office. This card should allow us in, and we can now make our way back.
Wow, is that Nicole?
Damn it.
Daniels?
No, it's
You made it.
Thank God. After the bridge, we saw
I'm glad to disappoint. I barricaded myself in the computer core. I can hear them, but I don't think they know I'm here. Isaac, I tracked down your rig. You're an engineer, right? I'll get myself admin privileges. Maybe I can help.
Now that we have access to this room, we're faced with a very tough choice. We could cut power to life support and rely on air canisters for oxygen, but today we'll play a section without lights instead.
Vacuum.
Now this is cool. We did not have something like this in the first game, having options by taking sacrifices in order to proceed through. So this gives you that extra horror element. So that's great. That's great to see some extra options like that. One of my favorite ways to kill those guys: take one of their own pieces right off of them and just use the kinesis, and then bam, throw it right in the head.
With the power restored, the south refueling station can now be activated.
Sufficient. Decontamination sequence activated. Please stand by.
In the decontamination room, using new tech, we've cranked up the tension.
Oh boy. There will definitely be times where the necromorph will pop out on you, because like during decontamination there's times
Dynamic smoke creates that thick and opaque atmosphere that makes you lose track of the lurkers, even when they're right next to you.
Yeah, there's going to be times where there'll be interruptions, like this, and we have to clear the infection threat before we can move on to the next stage.
It adds to the claustrophobia, the feeling of being locked in with a pack of necromorphs.
But isn't that what we all want? I definitely had my rage moments with those lurkers for sure.
Our last stop is the centrifuge.
Alright.
It's offline, and the Ishimura's getting dragged down to the planet below.
Please attach generator modules.
We've added so much detail in here.
Oh my gosh.
Particle effects, lighting, floating debris. We wanted this room to be imposing and tell a story at the same time. It's a lot more impressive, and its size makes it harder to keep track of the incoming necromorphs. So audio plays a huge role here in identifying the direction of threats.
Alright, using the stasis to
With
slow
one of
it
the
down.
generator modules back in place, we can head to the second one. Flying in zero-G and not being anchored to the surface makes spatial awareness extremely important. Combat encounters can quickly become deadly, especially with leapers. And now, with the generator modules powered up, the centrifuge is ready to be activated.
Generator module attached. Clutch engaged. All personnel clear for centrifuge restart.
Now, I don't remember.
I hope you enjoyed this sneak peek at the new Dead Space. Thank you for tuning in.
All right, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, let's pause it real quick. So, in Dead Space 2, between Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2, I remember in the zero gravity sections of how you had kind of a free float. You had a free float type of ability in Dead Space 2 versus Dead Space 1. And if I'm remembering correctly, when there was zero gravity option in Dead Space, you kind of did have that ability to just walk around versus in Dead Space 2 where you just floated around. I mean, if you did see during those gameplay during the gameplay comparisons between the two, where in Dead Space Isaac walks around for the most part, but then he can float from one end to the other end, and then he's there. Everything else obviously floating around and whatnot, but he did not have the ability to be able to just kind of free float around the area like you can in Dead Space 2. But it looks like they're allowing you to have that option in the Dead Space version here. Let's check this part out again.
With one of the generator modules back in place, we can head to the second one.
Right, so like in here, like, on the right side, he basically, we're in zero gravity, but we're just kind of walking around, versus in Dead Space Remake on the left side, we have the option to be able to kind of float around, which I think gives us more of a maneuverability option. But with the necromorphs being involved, because there will be times that they will be in there floating after you and stuff, it will be nice to have more of an ability to kind of look around and be aware of your surroundings. So excellent work there. And yes, just obviously for what we can see from the gameplay enhancements, it's what we're looking for, in a remake, being able to have some of that originality with just more on top of it. So like what I was saying about the character models is that they are definitely like more alive, more convincing. Definitely some great detail put into them on this one.
Now that we have access
and
to
I mean, like how it even shows her like she's like turning this way to to turn her stuff off. That's cool.
this room, we're faced with a very tough choice.
So this is great. I love how this is what I was talking about, giving you the options of diversity. You can continue on by turning off the life support, which means you have limited amount of time to get to where you need to go, if that's correct.
We could cut power to life support.
Right, life support. So like I said, he has a limited amount of time to be able to get to the next mission objective, or cut the lights, which means that the necromorphs are going to be sneaking up on you before you know it. I do want to go back to a section where they talked about how you can revisit areas.
If you needed to backtrack or simply wanted to explore the ship further, you may encounter a completely different experience.
Okay, that's interesting, because it's not just going back. It sounds like you can go forward past your mission objective. So it makes me wonder, because if we are going to have like a specific kind of skill tree, like we did have in Dead Space, where we can make our weapons stronger, more resilient, have a extended option for more stasis. I don't think kinesis actually has a limit on it, but definitely we needed to increase our stasis output so we could be able to use that more often, and obviously increase our life force, and again, like our weapon damage. I'm wondering if you get further, there's going to be, I wonder if the enemies are just going to be even stronger. I wonder if there really is going to be an increase in their damage output, their resilience. It's still an interesting challenge if you can actually go forward ahead of your current chapter to explore, to see what really lies ahead. But going back and revisiting places, and they're actually for things that you probably missed, and there are new enemies, different diverse types of encounter, different diverse. You'll have your linear experience while exploring the Ishimura, but it gives it more of a sandbox feel, kind of gives it more of an open feel for you to be able to explore when you want and go, forward or go back if you need to. But right, like I was saying about some of our returning enemies, I don't remember all their names, but it will be great to see, exactly how well they have been amped up in this game. Are they going to have new attack patterns or things like that? The infectors can be able to infect corpses. So, somebody that may have died like a while ago, an infector can come by and just, do its thing. And then the person wakes up, blades shooting out of its hands, and it's coming at you. It's going to be great going through this game again. And, for people who are returning players, especially if people are playing this game, before it comes out, a lot of the jump scares and stuff probably will remain the same, probably in the same moments. Like they did say, there's going to be some moments that, are the iconic moments that you can remember. But they got to be a little more on the additional side here when it comes to maybe adding some new types of scares. Give me some pop outs and some jump scares that I'm gonna be completely unaware of, and we'll see what happens.
As you can see, some memorable moments are authentic to the original. We've added tons of graphical enhancement that support strategic dismemberment.
Being able to use different options to kill. You can use the line gun. Actually, we haven't even seen the line gun. I guess I was kind of thinking plasma cutter in my head, but line gun came into play. The line gun is amazing. The plasma cutter, the plasma rifle. I think there was a flamethrower in the first one. I'm not 100% sure if there was. I know there was, like in some of the future games, but it will be great to see if there will be any additional weapons that they add, or they may just stay true to the original and keep just about all of the original weapons. But it will be interesting to see if there is going to be any additional options added, like for the crafting system. If we'll actually be able to do crafting, that would actually be. It would be interesting if they did decide to do that. Dead Space 3 had a deeper crafting option where you could take two guns, like the plasma cutter, and you could combine it with like the line gun, and then other options that they had trip wires and stuff. So might be reaching a little bit, with that versatility, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what they decide to do. These things here, they're like explosive type of can't think of the word. I would say like I don't know, like explosive fuel rods or something like that. But yeah, you can use kinesis with these, throw them at the necromorphs, watch them blow to a bunch of pieces. You got your little floating boxes that sometimes they have goodies in them, sometimes they don't, but this is also good stuff to be able to launch at the necromorphs. You're going to have times where you're going to run out of ammunition, and you'll be low on options of how you're going to be able to combat if you do not have ammunition from your weapons. So sometimes using your environment is also a very big advantage, whatever you can find to be able to take the necromorphs out in any other way, shape, or form when you run out of ammunition.
Generator modules.
We've added
Yeah, definitely some big changes.
so much detail in here.
Glad that we got an extended look to see what type of additions that they're adding into the remake. I like it so far. I love the diverse options for the atmosphere and how you can choose your way of handling missions, via different options, as we discussed earlier. And one of the biggest things I think is not having the tram and being able to go from one side of the Ishimura to the other. You can go back and revisit places. You can go forward and explore a little bit further ahead if you want to. That's on you though. So I hope that you guys enjoyed, this little reaction and analysis on my end, from, what I am what I am anticipating from the game, also from my experience of playing Dead Space, and I am excited to see what more we're going to be seeing from this game before it releases. I probably won't react to just about everything. If it seems like it could be some substantial stuff in addition to what we have already seen, again, I probably will want to see things like the bench and see exactly, you know, what type of weapons we're going to be able to, if there is going to be any kind of a crafting system for weapons, or if they are going to keep it true to the original without the additional crafting options, and then also to see exactly what the level up system for your suit is going to be like, because Dead Space 2 had a wide variety of suits that you could choose from. Dead Space had a couple, but not very many. They didn't really have very many like suit options for you, so it'll be interesting to see if they'll do things in that regard to give you some cosmetic appeal and whatnot. So appreciate you guys coming by, and if you are excited for Dead Space just like I am, and you'll want to see some more Dead Space stuff as we get closer to the release date, just make sure to stay connected to the channel. I am going to be getting back on my grind here pretty soon. I had to take a little bit of time to just kind of bring myself back to where things are with my whole setup and schedule and everything. So I'll be back at it here pretty soon for you guys. So I appreciate you, and I will catch you in the next video when that time comes. Be safe out there. There will be enough time between now and January 27th to make peace with the necromorphs the best we can, you know, maybe to take a little bit of heat off our shoulders as we're, you know, traveling through the Ishimura and stuff. So I will catch you guys when that time comes.